G.I. Joe is back on the big screen with an origin story for Snake Eyes. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Let me know your excitement level for the movie Snake Eyes, and if you've seen it, let me know what did you think about it. So I'm an 80s kid. I grew up watching the original G.I. Joe cartoon, and I had all the toys. I still actually have a drawer full of G.I. Joes at my mom's house, except the rubber band that holds them together is snapped, so it's more like a bunch of severed bodies of G.I. Joes in a drawer at this point in time. But because I did grow up with G.I. Joe and my son is now 9 years old, anytime there's a new G.I. Joe project, inherently I'm a little bit interested and it pushes a bunch of the nostalgia buttons for me. But did this movie actually deliver on the promise of the premise? Is it a nice return to form or another disappointment? Let's get started with the good. And probably the best thing about this movie is the cast. Henry Golding is one of these actors that's been on the rise for several years now, and it's pretty clear he's gonna be a big movie star, and in this role, he's able to bring a lot to it. He can be angry, he can be charming, he can be mysterious, and play between all of them nice and smoothly while feeling like a coherent character and being able to lead a film of this size of an established franchise. But everyone else here is quite good too. In particular, Andrew Koji, who's the other kind of lead in the film as Tommy, who's the friend who brings Snake Eyes into his family. And they have a real nice dynamic between the two of them, but Andrew brings this like intensity and sincerity to what he's trying to do that you feel the hurt and pain as certain things happen to him all throughout the film. Everyone's enjoyable for the type of film that we're watching here. Other kind of surprise here is there's a lot more complexity to the story and the characters than I was expecting. It's very much this world where no one's fully good, no one's fully bad. There's a lot of people lying to other people, different factions trying to manipulate other people to try and get what they want. And so it's not as straightforward of a narrative or as clear of a good guy, bad guy situation as I was expecting, or that you normally get from G.I. Joe, or normally it's pretty obviously G.I. Joe vs. Cobra. It's not quite that simple here. And along those same lines, when I was first watching it, I thought the movie was jumping through plot points a bit too quickly, and then you realize that all these little details, plot points actually matter for the grander narrative that they're building, that it's all interconnected in some sense and in certain ways. In general, I tend to enjoy origin stories with a bunch of training sequences. That's what this movie is, so I was able to connect with it pretty well on that level. And likewise, I enjoyed kind of the atmosphere of the film. The Tokyo, Japan setting, I think had a lot of vibrant environments that were just interesting to look at, but different at the same time. You have the camp of the clan versus Tokyo itself. Just had a little bit of variety while all of it being vibrant and interesting. And the story moves quick enough, has enough action sequences that I was never bored while watching the film, and there weren't any particular parts where I felt like it was dragging. All that said, there are quite a few problems here, so let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. And the big thing here is that I think this movie would have worked a whole lot better if it wasn't a Snake Eyes origin story and connected to G.I. Joe. The narrative about this loner who gets swept up into this criminal underworld of the Yakuza and these rival clans where his loyalties are pulled in different directions because of his past as well as his current friendships. That stuff was interesting. I just don't think it worked all that well as an origin story for Snake Eyes, which we'll cover in the bad. But there's a lot of interesting stuff there that it just, as I was watching it, I was never thinking, yeah, this feels like Snake Eyes. So while I did enjoy good bits of the movie in general, I don't think it worked at all as a G.I. Joe movie. With that said, let's move on to the bad. And the first thing you have to talk about here is the fact that this is an action movie, and the action, for the most part, is really bad. And the frustrating part is I think the choreography itself was probably pretty good, but this is one of the worst examples of close-up shots with a shaky cam, choppily cut together, so you can't decipher anything that's taking place. A bunch of the trailers showcase this chase sequence with motorcycles and semi-trucks with these wide shots, and I think the reason those are showcased so heavily in the trailers is the rest of the action in the movie is incomprehensible. Like, it starts off with this cage fight, and it's just this camera moving around like this where you can't tell at all what is happening. Next big gigantic problem here is that Snake Eyes is simply not a likable character in this movie. Henry Golding is charismatic, and therefore he can come off as charming at certain points in time and you're rooting for him, but that's entirely because of the talents of Henry Golding. But as the character's written, he makes so many selfish choices that progress the conflict of the story, not the resolution, that it's difficult to root for him at all or care what happens to him. And because of that, his journey, his character arc simply didn't work for me in this film. Even as he starts to become the hero that we know, it's not really even driven by a change of character. It's just a redirection of what was motivating him before. So by the time you get to the end of the movie, you're rooting for Tommy and all of these other characters so much more so than our lead character. And because of that, at no point in time in this movie does he feel like Snake Eyes, the noble G.I. Joe. He just feels like this selfish loner on his own mission that eventually it kind of lines up with these other people. And that's where if this hadn't been a G.I. Joe movie and it was just generic criminal underground movie with stylized action and some over-the-top moments, I think it would work better, because at the end of the movie, you could choose which characters at the end of the day you were rooting for and was the protagonist. But when you call it Snake Eyes and you make him the G.I. Joe and imply all sorts of other things about Cobra, and then it's so ambiguous and Snake Eyes is kind of a jerk, that's an odd choice. And then to state the obvious, Snake Eyes is the G.I. Joe famous for always wearing his helmet, never revealing his face, and not talking. In this movie, Henry Golding's face is prominently on display from beginning to end, and he's talking all of the time. There's an obvious disconnect between the character that they're adapting and what's put on screen here. I'm gonna discuss some things real quick that kind of fall into the category of spoilers. They're not really plot points, but they are displayed in the marketing in a misleading fashion. So if you don't wanna know anything, skip ahead this part that's in black and white in 3, 2, 1. The trailers heavily show this shot of Snake Eyes putting the helmet on and putting the visor on and driving off. That's the first time in the movie that he wears the Snake Eyes costume, and it's the last shot in the movie. Like, Snake Eyes, if you go to see the character that you know from the cartoon and from the toys and everything, that is not in this movie whatsoever. But they're heavily marketing the film with that imagery on the posters because they know that's what people want. And that seems like they're kind of acknowledging the fact that they know they aren't delivering what the audience actually wants with this movie, so they're using every single frame of what people want, him in that costume, in the marketing as well as on all the posters, and I think that's inherently dishonest. All right, no more spoilers. And that's the big frustration here, is that it seems like they knew exactly what audiences wanted and they like deliberately didn't deliver it. And when you have a character named Snake Eyes that's nothing like Snake Eyes, it feels like you undermine the entire reason that your movie exists. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts on this one, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. What did you think about Snake Eyes? I'd love to hear. Also, I will be ranking all 4 G.I. Joe movies this weekend, so tune in over the next couple of days to check this out. And if you didn't see, yesterday I posted my review for Masters of the Universe Revelation. The way the universe is playing out, on the same day we're getting 2 different adaptations of 80s cartoons that were designed to sell toys. And for me, I thought Masters of the Universe Revelation, the Netflix series, was a lot better than Snake Eyes, so you can check out that review right up here. As just a movie about this loner who gets swept up into this underground world of the Yakuza and battling ninja clans, I thought it was an interesting story with complex characters with competing motives inside of themselves and a bunch of really solid performances. But as an action movie, the action is not good. It is indecipherable. And as a G.I. Joe film, I think they totally missed the mark and didn't deliver at all what Snake Eyes fans want to see from a Snake Eyes movie. Overall, it's a C+. On the entertainment scale, I'll actually go 7 out of 10, but this is a movie you can just wait to rent it if you're interested in the property in general. If you enjoyed this review and want more like it, you can check out my Masters of the Universe Revelation review right over there. I really did enjoy that series a whole lot more than Snake Eyes. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.